everyone, it's Lori and welcome to the channel. So recently I was out on a nature walk and found this absolutely beautiful spot. The morning light was just gorgeous, but unfortunately I only had one lens with me and I did not have a tripod. So I took what I would call snapshots and just kind of played with it, knowing that I can always come into editing and make the image more of what I want. Now this will be a spot I will definitely go back to this fall when the colors change. There's lots of gorgeous oak and maple trees in this area. And there's another side to the creek where you can get down on the banks. I just think it was a beautiful spot. So whenever I'm kind of stuck like that, I like to also shoot intentional camera movement. Now you can see I purposefully underexposed this because it was so bright, knowing that I could open it up. So I thought I'd take you along and show you how I'm going to edit this impressionistic view of this landscape scene. So let's jump to it and get started. So today I'm going to try to just use Lightroom. I may end up going into Photoshop, but I'm going to see if I can just edit this with Lightroom. I am in the Lightroom, used to be called the cloud version. I am not in Lightroom Classic, but all the editing is exactly the same. It just may be in different spots if you're using Classic. Okay, so let's jump in. The first thing we need to do is absolutely open up the shadows, open up the blacks. They are clipped. You can see that from the histogram. So what an immediate impact. Now, what I also want to do is go down to the tone curve on the brights, and I want to bump those up. So we're just going to bump that up to brighten those bright areas. Now, it's still just a little bit dark, so I am going to use my exposure to move that histogram over to the right just a little bit. I do want to keep it mysterious. What I love about camera movement is just look at all this beautiful movement we were able to capture. All right, so the light and exposure is getting better. I do notice now that I want to crop it because using intentional camera movement, it's hard to get things straight. So I'm actually just going to straighten and bring it in. And I may bring in this side just a little bit, or maybe I'll leave it. I may just leave it. Okay. So now I've got it a little more level. We've opened it up a little bit. Now I still see some darkness over in this area, so I'm going to go ahead and grab a linear gradient. If you watch my channel, you know I love those. I like it because it softens what you do as you go out. All right, so I'm going to open up the shadows some more. And let's go ahead and open up the highlights. Nice. Now I want to add a little bit of contrast here to keep that definition. And then we'll move over the exposure just a little bit. Not too much, but just a little. Let's also open up the blacks a little bit more. You can see though, they get a little hazy, so I'm just gonna bring those back down. You just have to kind of try it and see what works. So this would be before the mask and after. So just that subtle difference. Now this area down here didn't get a lot of movement and I don't want it to be distracting. So I think right here, what I want to do is maybe add some lens blur. So let's go down and I'm going to show you a trick with lens blur that I like to do. So what we're going to do is apply the blur and we'll let it run. So it's going to run, but I don't want to apply it to the entire image. So what we're going to do is we're going to let it run. And once it's finished, we're going to come down to the refinement area. And what we're going to do is use the blur tool. So we're going to refine with blur. And I'm going to increase the brush size, feather flows high, and I'm going to turn on the auto mask because that ensures, you can already see that it blurred it, but I am just going to make sure that this area kind of gets blurred a little bit more. Just come in and blur that. This side was already blur, but definitely you can see the focus on the map we bring that over, it's going to blur the background. We want to keep it right here. I can also make that even smaller. So yeah, let's just keep it right here in this area. And now we've got that nice and blurred. Okay, now that I'm looking at the image, I want to go ahead and add another mask. And I want to do another linear gradient. Click Mask, plus, add a linear gradient. And I want to come up from this corner, and I do want to darken this corner because it's just not really important to the image. So I'm just going to reduce that exposure. That's going to really take our eye into this spot. Okay, now I'm going to go back, and I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but I'm going to go to the Remove tool. We have got a little spot here of light that is just distracting the eye. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Let's click Apply. Oh, let's see, it couldn't do it. Let's use the Heal tool. Come in and see what that does. Yeah, it did okay. It made it pink though. How weird. Okay, I don't want the generative AI, so I'm going to turn that off. We'll let this run. I don't want it to be generative AI, so let's cancel. I'm going to make sure that checkbox is off. Now I'm going to grab it, come in, and let's see if that clears it up. There it goes. It's still making it pink. How weird. This is when I get frustrated and I feel like I have to go into Photoshop. Okay, it finally got it. So just had to go over it a couple times, and that looks really good. All right, at this point, I'd love to do some color adjustments and some light painting. So let's go ahead and go back to our basic, and I'm going to start with the temperature. And I do want to add, there's a little blue. I want to add just a touch more yellow. So I just moved it just a little bit. And then the tint, I do want to make it not too green and not too magenta. So I'm just going to maybe shift it just a little. All right, and our hues, I think look okay. I am going to see what it does to shift the blue. Yeah, I want that back area. You can see it has a little bit of blue tone and maybe some in the water. All right, so now let's do some custom work. So I'm going to go in back to the masking, create a mask, and use a brush tool. Now, if you're new to masking in Lightroom, I do have some videos on it, so I encourage you to check those out. It can be really helpful if you're getting started. So this is what I like to call light painting. I'm just coming in to certain areas. I'm doing the old dodge technique, and I'm going to add a little bit here. So I'm just picking some areas where I want to brighten. So I'm actually going to use the whites, and I'm just going to pop those in a little exposure. Just a little bit. Come down in this area. And the other thing I'm going to do, because this was camera movement, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to add some texture and a little dehaze. So that's just going to kind of get rid of that haziness, or you could increase it. So if you want it to look a little hazy, which is nice for an impressionistic look, I'm just going to kind of go around and keep, I'm dodging. So I'm just using the brush where the bright areas are that I want to make even brighter. And just kind of coming around. And this is where you get to just kind of paint in and really customize those areas. Maybe a little sweep right there. Now I could darken the shadows, so let's go up and let's do another mask. Let's do another brush, and this time I'm going to darken the exposure, and I want the brush a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to come in and darken those shadows. Now I don't think this upper tree needs it, but I am just going to go around to make this a little more dramatic. I'm just going to kind of edit around. Now I'm going to make it a little bit larger and just pop a little bit in this area where the water is, just to give it a little bit more kind of mystery and depth to it. So it's so fun when you're out in nature to try some different things and to get creative. This area needs a little darkening. So I'm just going to bring that down, kind of darken around these rocks. Yeah, so I think that's about got it. I could continue to kind of tweak the main edits, but let me show you. This was before our really, let's get it to come up. It's running slow. I'm having a hard time with, there we go. That's the before. So I underexposed it on purpose. I used camera movement, knowing that I could come in with a raw file and make some adjustments and kind of create something really fun and inspirational and impressionistic. Now, if I wanted to take this into Photoshop and do some additional fun things, I could. So I'm going to pause right here and jump into Photoshop. If you want to stay on and watch that, feel free. So let's jump over together. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm here in Photoshop, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and duplicate that background layer. Now, if you wanted to add some additional blur and fun, there's a couple things you can do. When you duplicate your layer, you could change your blend mode. So we could come down and probably soft light could be fun, overlay. You could do screen, so that really kind of brightens it up. Then you could reduce the opacity of that. Now, what you can also do is transform this. So I'm going to kind of scroll in so you can see, but I'm going to stretch it. And then I'm going to move it over. I'm going to move it over. Come on. There we go. I'm going to line up those trees, but I've stretched it, so it is going to add a little bit more definition to it. So it's kind of like doing a multiple exposure. And so you can see, I'm going to get rid of those lines. You can see how it's got just even more texture in it. I just love how it's like streaking the light from the sun through that. So I really, really love that effect. So once you've done that, you could do a stamped layer, Command Option Shift and the letter E. And now I'm going to go up to image mode. I'm going to make sure it's an 8-bit. And then once that's finished, I'm going to go up to filter. I'm going to do texture. And let's go to texturizer. And I'm going to actually add the canvas texturizer. Look how beautiful that makes it. I love that. I keep the scaling pretty low, the relief low, so that it's very, very subtle. And I'm just going to click OK. And you don't notice it as much until you kind of zoom in. This would be an image that would just be beautiful printed because you would just see all that gorgeous texture. And I think it just really makes this look more artistic and more like a piece of art than the original image. So just a couple small tweaks can go a really long way. So again, I duplicated the layer, I changed the blend mode, and I think that blend mode is screen, opacity 50%, and then I just transformed and stretched it a little bit. And the last step was adding that texture. So just a little bit extra fun today. I hope you enjoyed how I took an image that probably should have been thrown away and just brought it to life and to what my vision was when I shot it. Thanks so much for watching. Please take a minute to click like, subscribe if you want to get notice of more videos, and all of that helps me keep making videos for you. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.